Okay. Well, it's 2:02. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle Bustelo Ortiz, and I'm pleased to be here with you today to talk about Summer EBT implementation in 2025. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Katria Watson, our Child Nutrition Senior Policy Advisor, to get us started on some opening remarks. Katria?
Thank you, Michelle. Greetings. On behalf of Child Nutrition Associate Administrator Melissa Rothstein, I want to welcome you to our Summer EBT webinar that's talking all about 2025. We're really excited to have you with us this afternoon. But before we start, I want to take a moment to recognize and express our appreciation for all the hard work that's gone into 2024 operations and the impressive results we're seeing. Many of you have already issued a significant amount of your benefits, and we're hearing that redemptions are going strong. So kudos to all of you that are right in the trenches getting this done. We know it's been a really long road to get to this point, but the folks on this call have risen to the challenge, and the folks on this call will rise to the challenge in 2025. So really kudos to you on behalf of FNS and Child Nutrition. Your work is truly making a difference for our families this summer. And now we're really at an inflection point. It's about to be August, and although 2024 operations are still underway, we're really looking forward to 2025, and we're so excited about the opportunities we have in front of us. For states and ITOs that are currently administrating the program, 2025 is a time for continued momentum and progress moving forward. Now that you're in the middle of 2024, you have more experience, more time, and more resources to further hone your program operations. And we're really looking forward to seeing what innovations you come up with across the country as you develop new and innovative ways to deliver benefits timely, efficiently, and of course with integrity. And for states and ITOs that we are hoping to join us for 2025, we really want to welcome you. And we're really excited to work with you as you build and launch your program. FNS is always standing by to assist you and provide any technical assistance that you need. And we're just really excited about the opportunity that it presents to bring more states on in 2025. If you haven't already let us know what you're planning and where your challenges are or what they may be, we're here to help you stand up that program. So please don't be shy with reaching out. And as we look to 2025, we're continuing to lay the foundation for a permanent program that will support children every summer in all corners of the country. And so I want to emphasize the permanent nature of this program. We're just growing. We're only moving forward with the permanent status. And so we're really excited to be on this journey with you. And so with that, I want to thank you again for joining, and I'm going to turn it over to our Summer EBT team and our program experts, Michelle, Rogelio, and the broader team. And so thank you, and we look forward to continuing to work with you this year and beyond.
Thanks, Katria. So let's talk about summer 2025. Do we have the slides shared? Yes. So let's talk about summer 2025. Our objective with this webinar is to provide useful information that will help you prepare for 2025 operations, including highlighting differences between the 2024 program operations and 2025. A few things before we dive in. This webinar is best viewed in side-by-side mode, and then once you're in that mode, select Fit to Window. This approach will allow you to see the entire slide, which can sometimes be cut off by Zoom. We've set aside some time at the end for Q&A, and we request that you add your questions in the Q&A feed and include your name. If we don't get to your question or your response needs additional follow-up, we can contact you if you have your name. We're also in the process of finalizing another round of Q&As, which will be published on the website soon, and questions raised at this webinar could be added to that document. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the website along with a copy of the slides. We'll email everyone who registered for the call to let them know once they're posted. Okay. So now I want to remind everyone that there's still an opportunity to comment on the Summer EBT interim final rule, which was published in 2023. The comment period was recently extended to August 27, 2024, to give the public additional time to prepare and submit comments. Please use this opportunity to provide feedback comments we receive will be used to inform future summer EBT rulemakings, and the docket number is on the screen, and we'll drop a link to the docket in the chat. A member of the summer EB team will do so. Okay, first up is the 2025 benefit level. As established in the National School Lunch Act, the monthly value of summer EBT benefit will be adjusted annually, starting in 2025 to reflect changes to the Thrifty Food Plan, which is the same index used to calculate changes in SNAP benefits. FNS will publish a notice in January of each year in the Federal Register to announce the monthly benefit level for that year. This notice will also include details on how the benefit was calculated. Additionally, due to higher costs of living in areas outside of the contiguous United States, the statute allows for USDA to adjust the monthly benefit for Alaska, Hawaii, Guam, American Samoa, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. Rates for these areas will also be included in an annual Federal Register notice. And rates are effective January 1st through December 31st of each year. Okay, let's go a little bit into waivers now. For 2024, FNS identified several waivers that were commonly requested by summer EBT agencies to address challenges unique to 2024 implementation. To streamline the process to request and be approved for these waivers, FNS developed a waiver template. This template included waivers that were pre-approved by our general counsel for use in 2024 when properly justified. However, FNS does not anticipate offering this same waiver template for 2025. It is our expectation that summer EBT agencies will work to meet with all program requirements in 2025. However, we are aware that some summer EBT agencies may need waivers related to verification, the state or ITO-wide database requirement, or the August 15 deadline to submit an interim POM or IPOM. We'll talk about those later in the presentation. FNS will also consider waiver requests on a case-by-case basis. Please talk with your regional office early if you anticipate challenges meeting any program requirements in 2025. We will work with you to determine next steps. Okay, moving on to the benefit issuance timing. The summer operational period must generally reflect the period between the end of classes during the current school year and the start of classes for the next school year. In states or ITOs where there is a broad range of start and end dates for the instructional year, the summer operational period should be set to cover as many children as possible while they are on break in order to ensure as many children can access the benefits when they need it. In other words, the start of the summer operational period should align with the earliest schools are getting out, and the end of the period should align with the latest schools are returning. For example, if 20% of your schools let out in mid-May and 80% let out in June, the start of the SOP should be in mid-May. Otherwise, 20% or 1/5 of the children would not have benefits available to spend at the beginning of the summer. In 2024, most approved waivers were related to issuance timing, and that's understandable given the unique circumstances of 2024. We know this continues to be on your minds going in 2025, so we want to level set expectations for timely benefit issuance. First off, we know that summer EBT agencies will continue to face challenges with timely benefit issuance as you continue to develop and refine your systems. For 2025, our focus is whether you have the system and processes in place to facilitate timely benefit issuance, understanding that circumstances outside of your control could delay issuance to some children in some situations. The aim is progress, not perfection. We want to hear what challenges the 2024 states expect to face in 2025 regarding specific requirements. For this time, 2025 states, we know you may have challenges and we are ready to assist. We also want to emphasize that benefits issued after the start of the summer operational period aren't necessarily out of compliance. We can think of several scenarios where it is appropriate to issue benefits after the start of the SOP. For example, applications received after the issuance file is compiled is the obvious one. Others who may receive their benefits after the start of the SOP include children who are streamlined certified during the summer based on new information, eligible children whose families contested an initial determination that they were not eligible, children for whom the agency does not initially have enough information to issue benefits. For example, they had a missing address. And in all of these cases, the Summer EBT agency would still be in compliance with issuance timeliness if benefits are issued as soon as possible and once the agency has enough information to confirm eligibility and issue benefits. Okay, so let's look now at eligibility. Don't worry, the process to determine eligibility in Summer EBT isn't changing. We're still doing the same streamlined certification and application process. However, I do want to highlight a few key items. First, you can propose additional data sources or programs to streamline certified children, even if you didn't use them in 2024. For example, we had several EBT agencies request and be approved to streamline certified children using state-funded programs for low-income children in 2024. Programs that have the same eligibility standards as NSLP can be used. If you have a program with eligibility standards that are not the same, you could still use this for streamlined certification as long as children whose household income is at or below 185% of the poverty line, and they can be identified as that. This is essential, and it's essentially how the Medicaid program is used for direct certification in school meals programs, and how streamlined certification is in Summer EBT. So let us know if you have any additional data source in mind, and we'll be happy to discuss whether it's appropriate for Summer EBT. As a reminder, the more children who are streamlined certified, the less there are who need to apply. It's a win-win for you and both the kids. The second thing I want to highlight is that the period of eligibility is from July 1st, 2024, through the last day of your summer operational period in 2025. That means you need to compile a cumulative file that includes all children eligible by streamlined certification or application starting July 1st, 2024. And the statewide database needs to include all children who are enrolled in an NSLP school as of July 1st. Your Summer EBT application also needs to be available throughout this period as well. Okay, so as you can see now, here's a graphic that demonstrates the period of eligibility. As I said, children who are eligible at any time during the period of eligibility are eligible for Summer EBT in 2025. The period of eligibility includes the prior instructional year, which begins on July 1st, and the summer operational period, which will vary by state or ITO. As you can see now, the period of eligibility for 1 year goes through the end of the summer operational period, and the period of eligibility for the next year starts on July 1st, there is a period of time in every summer where 2 periods of eligibility are overlapping. On this slide, we're going to talk about what happens when a child establishes eligibility during this joint period. In short, a child who establishes their eligibility in that window will receive 2 years of benefits for 1 certification. That means that in practice, when the Summer EBT agency begins to compile their streamlined certification issuance list, the next spring for the 2025 benefit, the children who became eligible after July 1st and were issued the 2024 benefit in the prior summer should still be included on that 2025 issuance list. They do not need to apply again to receive the 2025 benefit. However, as a note of caution, a child who completes an NSLP application between July 1st, 2024 and the end of the SOP in 2024 would only be eligible for 2024 summer EBT benefits based on that application if they attended an NSLP school in the school year 2023-2024. This is because a child's eligibility is based on the prior school year. So a child who is new to school, like an incoming kindergarten, cannot establish eligibility. Though an NSLP application for the year before, like an incoming kindergarten can establish eligibility through NSLP application for the year before they started school. Applications are another area where we offered flexibility specifically for 2024. Several states took advantage of the opportunity to use alternative income forms in 2024 to enroll children at CEP schools without making them complete another form just for summer EBT. Beginning in 2025, all applications must meet summer EBT application requirements. This is one area where we do not intend to offer flexibility in 2025, even for states that operate for the first time. All summer EBT applications must meet the requirements and regulations. Summer EBT applications must also be available year-round in the 2025 program. We know this wasn't possible for everyone in 2024, but it is an expectation going forward. Lastly, there is a new requirement beginning in 2025 that summer EBT agencies provide a uniform summer EBT application and process that application statewide. This does not mean that the state must collect and process the applications at the state agency level, but the application itself and the process to apply should look the same across the entire state. Okay, per regulations, a summer EBT application is considered complete and must be processed if it includes the name of all household members, the amount, the source, and the frequency of all household income, and a signature. Now you may be thinking, how am I supposed to confirm enrollment, mail cards to households, or deduplicate my participation list without also requiring additional information like what school each child attends, their mailing address, or their date of birth? Summer EBT regulations are not intended to make it difficult to run the program successfully and with integrity. Rather, they are intended to ensure access to all households who may be eligible. But there is a way to do both, and it's all about how you set up your application. In short, you can make a field required in your application, but there also has to be some way for the applicant to indicate they don't know or they don't have that information. And this could be a checkbox, or it could be one option, that is included in a drop-down list, or it could be an instruction telling the family to enter, not applicable or I don't know in a text box. There may be other ways to do this as well, but if you have questions, please reach out to your regional offices and we can help figure that out. The point is to make sure that even if a particular data field doesn't apply or they don't know or don't have that information, they can still proceed through the entire application and submit it. Okay, for example, let's think about a homeless family that is trying to apply for summer EBT. They get to the mailing address field and they see it has an asterisk and says required next to it, but they don't have a mailing address. They click the next or submit button to try to complete their application, but they get an error message saying that they did not complete all the required fields. This is a problem. The way you can get around this would be to add a checkbox that says currently experiencing homelessness, or providing another way for families to indicate that they do not have a mailing address. This may also be a good place to put information or instructions for vulnerable families about how they can obtain their benefits. For a field asking about school enrollment, you can make it required to proceed or submit an application. We would recommend having options like my child does not attend school, or my child's school is not listed, and even my child is homeschooled. While these children may not be eligible for summer EBT, if they are a part of the household, they must be accounted for in the household size, income, calculation, and therefore they need to have the appropriate options available so that they can provide accurate information and you can make an accurate eligibility determination. So, date of birth is another field that we know is important for data matching and deduplication. I don't think we need to belabor the point that you hopefully get the idea and can apply the same logic to this field in an application. And if there are other fields that you are wondering about, again, talk to your regional office and we'll help you figure out a solution that works for you, but that also stays in line with summer EBT regulations. Okay, so USDA has partnered with Nutrilink to develop an online summer EBT application that is available for states, ITOs, to use at no cost. This application has been designed to serve multiple states and ITOs and is modeled after the USDA prototype. Nutrilink will work with each state interested or ITO individually to customize their application. Some specific customizations are shown on the slide. Okay, to the statewide database. To facilitate a streamlined process for determining eligibility, summer EBT agencies are required to establish and maintain a state or ITO-wide database of children who are enrolled in NSLP or SBP participating schools within the state or ITO for the purposes of enrolling children who must submit applications for summer EBT efficiently and with integrity. If you already have a school enrollment database within the education agency, there is likely a way to modify or extend it to summer EBT purposes. Reach out to your regional office again, and we can help talk through the options. Also, FNS understands that there is a lot that goes into building something that will work in a way that truly streamlines operations. And we are aware that summer EBT agencies may need waivers related to the state or ITO-wide database requirement. FNS will consider waiver requests on a case-by-case basis. Also, we want to hear from summer EBT agencies about what aspects of the database are challenging, any waivers that deal with the summer EBT database will be targeted, and it won't just waive, the whole requirement. Our goal for 2025 is continuous improvement, not perfection. That said, I wanted to walk through a few different questions or considerations that you have or probably will need to think through as you work toward implementing this requirement. Okay, first, what is a database? A database is simply a set of related data organized in a way that it can be easily stored, accessed, and changed. So then, what are the different ways to build or structure a database? That's a really good question to consider because there is definitely more than one way to do this. So let's talk through a couple of different ways it could work. For many agencies, a simple Excel file or like a flat file will be used, at least at first. The information in this type of database is uniform and typically arranged as one record or observation in a row with various pieces of information organized into columns. Alternatively, there are what are called relational databases. Many states that are operating summer EBT are using these, whether they know it or not, when they go to put together their issuance lists. A relational database takes the type of flat file we were just talking about and makes it kind of 3D, if you will. It allows multiple spreadsheets or flat files to be combined. This requires each individual data set or spreadsheet to have at least one data element in common that can be used to link the data sets. In Summer EBT, one example of this might be when participation lists from SNAP and NSLP are combined using things like name, date of birth, or even the last 4 digits of a social security number if it's available. But the database requirement we are talking about today is for a database that can be used to confirm or deny whether a child is enrolled in an NSLP school. And Summer EBT regulations specify that the database should include, at a minimum, a child's name, date of birth, school or district, where they are enrolled, their mailing address, their individual free or reduced price eligibility status if it's applicable, and any other information needed to match children and prevent that duplication of issuance. Okay, next, let's think about where this data set is housed and who will maintain it. Obviously, the information contained in this database is largely coming from schools. So it would make sense to have the state's education agency be the owner. However, the state education agency may not be the one collecting and processing applications. Even so, in most cases, at least in the near term, the databases will likely need to be housed with the state education agency in order to ensure that there are no FERPA violations associated with the database. In the future, USDA and the U.S. Department of Education will be issuing joint guidance on how a state could go about collecting data and building a database that could be housed at a non-education state agency without violating FERPA. But we're not going to get into those specifics right now. Okay, so now you may be thinking, well, if the state education agency has this information and a different state agency who is processing applications needs to use this information, how will that work? There's a wide range of answers. There's a wide range of answers to use and that vary from low to high tech. On the low tech side of the spectrum, the state agency who is processing applications will send information from the application to the state education agency. And the education agency will check the database, and send back a yes or no answer for a child. Slightly higher on the tech scale, the database could be equipped with API or application processing interface that the processing agency could use to send their application data themselves and get back the yes or no answer immediately. This would require some coordination and development, but this is pretty seamless option and one that we know some states are already using. And then there's what you might call the gold star solution, which would be where the Summer EBT application itself is linked to the database. So when the state agency that is processing the application receives the application data, the yes or no enrollment confirmation is already there and ready for the state's review. This would obviously be the quickest and most seamless way to conduct the enrollment checks. If any of these things are of interest and perhaps you want to spend some Summer EBT technology grant funding, which we are going to talk about on the next slide, and on building a solution like any of these things, please contact your regional office and we can put you in the right directions and think about next steps. And so, speaking of developing new Summer EBT systems, I'm pleased to announce that the Summer EBT technology grants are now live. There are several Summer EBT statutory and regulatory requirements that will require a robust technology infrastructure at the state or ITO level. It is essential to support sound investment in Summer EBT technology infrastructure from the beginning to establish a long-term and sustainable program that operates with the proper controls. These Summer EBT technology grants will provide states and ITOs significant resources over and above Summer EBT administrating funding for important technology investments. These grants must only be used for Summer EBT related technology costs and are not subject to any administrative match requirements. Potential uses for the Summer EBT technology grants include system planning, development, implementation, maintenance, enhancements, and/or operations specific to the delivery of Summer EBT. Each Summer EBT coordinating agency will need to work with its partnering Summer EBT agencies to determine technology needs for the program. All Summer EBT agency within a state, territory, or ITO should collaborate to collectively decide the best use of the funds. And more information coming soon on how to apply and the funding levels for these grants. Okay, now let's talk about verification. This chart may be very familiar because it has been on our website as part of the implementation toolkit for several months now, but we're going to take a few minutes to talk through it in detail. But before we do that, let's first talk about the applications that are subject to verification in the Summer EBT program in the first place. This table is a part of one of the Q&As that we put out a while ago. It's a lot to take in, so let's walk through it together. As you can see, we have categorized various applications into 5 functional types. Along the top of the table, you can see there are columns for type of school where the child is enrolled, whether it meets National School Lunch Program and Summer EBT application requirements. And then the last column has the applicable verification requirements. What you do not see along the top is when the application was submitted, who collected or processed the application, or who is conducting verification. It also does not have how the application is labeled or branded, meaning what it says at the top, or the program in which the household intended to participate in or apply for. These things don't define what type of application it is or what the verification requirements are. So with that, in that first row, you have NSLP applications, and those are applications that are submitted to schools that do regular application procedures for NSLP or SBP. These applications per NSLP regulations are subject to NSLP verification procedures. Summer EBT verification does not apply to these. I repeat, you do not need to verify these applications for Summer EBT. Even if an application is submitted on the last day of school or the child never actually eats a school meal, it is still considered an NSLP application, and Summer EBT verification procedures do not apply. Also, very importantly, this child should be Streamline certified for Summer EBT and should not need to apply to Summer EBT at all. Okay, next you see 2 rows, both which have Summer EBT as the application type. Where these 2 applications differ is the type of school where the child is enrolled and whether the application could be used to establish eligibility for school meal benefits because it meets the minimum application requirements for NSLP. And it's the combination of those 2 factors that matter. So let's break those down. For the first Summer EBT application, the second row, we are talking about a child who goes to a school that does collect NSLP applications. But as you can see, this Summer EBT application doesn't meet the NSLP application requirements. For example, it doesn't include a field to collect the last 4 digits of the Social Security number for the adult signing the application. This application is subject to Summer EBT verification procedures, and it cannot be used to certify a child for school meal benefits and is not subject to NSLP verification. Now, let's talk about the second type of Summer EBT application. This is an application that is submitted by a child who is enrolled in a school that offers all school meals for free. In general, they don't collect and process NSLP applications. So in that third column, does it meet the requirements for NSLP application? It doesn't matter. It won't be used for school meal benefits, and it's not subject to NSLP verification processes, but it is subject to Summer EBT verification requirements. Moving along, the last 2 rows in the table have alternative income form as the application type. These forms are only relevant for kids who are enrolled in schools where all kids eat for free. And therefore it says not applicable in the NSLP application column because it doesn't matter. But the critical difference for summer EBT purposes is whether the application meets the summer EBT minimum requirements, which again are slightly different than NSLP. So the application on that second to last row, it does meet the minimum application requirements, which means it can be used to establish summer EBT eligibility and is also subject to summer EBT verification procedures. And as for the application in the last row, that one doesn't meet the minimum requirements for summer EBT application, and therefore it is not subject to summer EBT verification procedures because it cannot be used to establish eligibility for summer EBT. Okay, moving along, let's start with the top left box labeled direct verification. Basically, before contacting the household, the summer EBT agency must first check to see if the child can be verified as eligible through participating in an approved program. So they need to check against data that is cumulative over the entire period of eligibility and as up to date as possible for the programs they use for streamlined certification. It is important to note that when you go to do that check, the child doesn't need to be participating in one of the approved programs right now, or even at the time they submitted the application. If you can find them on any list at any point during the period of eligibility, they are considered to have been directly verified, and you can go to the next case or application. One last thing to note is that you will need to let us know in your POM what sources of data you plan to use for direct verification. Next, let's talk about verification for cause, the top right box in that diagram. Verification for cause is a process through which questionable applications are verified on a case-by-case basis. Questionable applications might include those with conflicting or inconsistent information. For example, if a household submits 2 separate applications with different information, a summer EBT agency then may choose to verify that application for cause on the basis that the household submitted inconsistent or conflicting information. And we've said this before, but it's worth reiterating. Verification for cause is not a directive to go searching for problems. It's merely a provision that says, hey, if you're confronted with something fishy, follow up on it. Simple as that. We're not asking you to be private investigators for every single application. When do you conduct verification for cause? The answer is simple. As soon as you become aware of a potential issue. This will be a routine thing that can happen anytime during the year. And then the last bullet just states that if you are selecting a sample of applications for regular verification, applications that are selected for cause do not count toward the total verification percentage. In other words, if you already verified 10 applications for cause before you select your sample, you cannot subtract those 10 from the number of applications you need to verify randomly. And while it's not included on the slide, one more thing to note is that if you select an application for cause before you issue benefits, you should complete verification before you issue. If you already issued benefits, depending on the result of that verification, you may need to follow summer EBT claims procedures. Okay, moving to the bottom left-hand corner of the graphic, in addition to direct verification and verification for cause, states will need to choose between 2 different verification options. We will go over the option on the next slide, but the first option shown here is to select a 3% sample of applications, similar to the process for school meal applications. A 3% sample must be selected from those approved from the start of the period of eligibility through April 1st. And the 3% sample must be selected randomly. It is not a risk-based sampling process. Before we move on, I want to talk about that April 1st date for a minute. We selected that date because we wanted to give households enough time to apply for summer EBT and summer EBT agencies to have enough time to process applications before needing to give your list to your processors. But given that it is a brand new program and everyone's timing and implementation looks a little bit different, we did build in some room for flexibility or even creativity, if you have it, in the regulations, which we'll talk about on the next slide. And now, talking about that creativity, on the fourth bottom right box of this chart talks about a verification alternative. In essence, what this provides us is the regulatory authority to deviate from the 3% April 1st procedures. If you go back to your staff and you look at your systems and staffing, and you talk to your processors and you look at your dates for your summer operational periods and you think, April 1st is really not gonna work for me. And that's okay. There are alternatives. What would work for you for your state or ITO? A single sample at a different time, a rolling sample as applications come in. You can even think about what sample size other than the 3% would be reasonable, depending on whether other aspects of your program and your operations and your procedures. So when evaluating alternative proposals, FNS will be looking at things like the start of your summer period, or we may ask when you expect the majority of your applications to be submitted. So there are things we encourage you to consider as well as you develop your proposed process. That said, we understand that there are a lot of variables and moving targets in that process and a lot of ifs. As with the database, we are aware that some summer EBT agencies may need waivers related to the verification requirements this year, and we will consider waiver requests on a case-by-case basis. Please talk to your regional office early if you anticipate any challenges meeting any program requirements in 2025, and we will work with you to determine next steps. Okay, and this is our last slide on verification. And we're just going to go over some miscellaneous topics. Okay, rolling verification. Summer EBT regulations include an optional verification procedure where rather than waiting until April 1st to start verification, summer EBT agencies can randomly select applications and reach out to families on a rolling basis. I'm not going to get into the details now, but there are some helpful resources about how to do this in a verification toolkit for school meals, which we can put in the link in the chat. So please take a look at that if you're interested in learning more, or please, reach out to your regional office. Okay, so documentation. In terms of documentation timeframe, summer EBT regulations allow documentation to be from any time during the period of eligibility. It doesn't have to be from the month they were contacted or the month they applied. If they were selected for verification in April, maybe they had applied in December, but they send you proof of SNAP participation from the previous October, that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. That documentation must be accepted as proof of eligibility. Follow-up attempts. Child nutrition agencies will be familiar with follow-up attempt requirement. But if another agency is conducting verification in your state, then this may be new. The requirement is fairly straightforward. It is just that summer EBT agencies must make at least 2 attempts, at least 1 week apart, to contact any household that does not respond to a verification request. We want to make sure that there is a reasonable amount of time for a family to respond before any adverse action is taken. And lastly, benefit issuance. And that is the last thing, that if verification happens before benefits are issued, they should not be issued until after the verification process is complete. I will now hand this over to my colleague, Rogelio, so he can talk to you a little bit about the APD process and your processors.
Thank you, Michelle. As always, great job. Tough act to follow, but I'm going to give it my best shot. All right, so I'm Rogelio Carrasco. My day job is in SNAP, but I've been Batmaning it with Summer EBT here for a while. I don't know if I'm a liaison or an adjunct or if I'm just Summer EBT adjacent, but I do work on Summer EBT, and I'm going to talk a little bit about EBT matters and state systems office stuff, so SSO stuff, so procurements, RFPs, things along those lines. In terms of EBT, and nothing I'm about to say should be new to you, but we have noticed since we got the ball rolling on summer 2024 that we've had some recurring questions on several issues. So I wanted to go ahead and address them here to make sure everyone has heard the questions and heard the responses so that we're all on the same page going forward. So the question we get most often is there any flexibility on the requirement to expunge benefits after 122 days? And the short answer is no, there is not. There's not. The law that established summer EBT is very clear. The expungement timeline for summer benefits may not exceed 4 months. So we did the math on 4 months and we operationalized that as 122 days in our regulations. And again, I emphasize the word law because this was something that was passed by Congress. So we can't change that. It's not something that we decided, it's something that's in the law. I've provided the citations for the law and the regulation in the slide. I won't read them. There's a lot of letters and parentheses. And you're going to get this presentation, so you'll have those citations if you want them. So the next bullet, the expungement notice. So we've been asked by multiple states if a separate expungement notice is really required, or if it can be combined with the eligibility notice. And we've also gotten questions about what that notice must say. So the regulations require the summer EBT agency to notify households of the expungement date and the amount to be expunged at least 30 days prior. That said, the way the regulation is written, there is flexibility to send households a joint notice, so to do one notice instead of two notices. Now, we understand that this may be an attractive option for states due to the lower upfront costs and the lower administrative burdens of doing it that way. However, we strongly encourage summer EBT agencies to send a separate expungement notice, one that is closer to the actual expungement date. Firstly, because it serves the customer. Busy families who are accustomed to a longer expungement timeline, they would benefit from a reminder closer to when the benefits actually expunge. But secondly, we encourage that because this will likely save states. It'll save states and ITOs on higher back-end costs and administrative burden. Because if you do it that way, families are less likely to miss that expungement deadline and therefore less likely to start making phone calls to the call center, writing emails, calling your office and using up resources, forcing you to use resources to address those cases. So again, we strongly encourage you to go with the separate, but we understand why the combined notice might be more attractive. Now, regardless of when the state sends the notice, whenever possible, it should include the dollar amount remaining in the account at the time the notice was issued. If that is not feasible, it is acceptable to cite the total amount that was originally issued to the household and indicate that any that is unspent as of the expungement date will be expunged from the account. So if possible, include the amount. If not, let them know what the original amount was and let them know that any leftover will be expunged. Next slide, please. All right, so more recurring EBT questions or issues. Can we use AMA? And for those of you who may not know, AMA does not stand for American Medical Association in this context. It stands for Account Management Agent, which is used in SNAP to manage funds that are used for food benefit redemptions. Again, the answer to the question is no. We do not use and we will not use AMA in summer EBT. Instead, summer EBT agencies will continue to receive their benefit funds as a grant and will manage settlement directly with their processor. This allows summer EBT benefits to be maintained and tracked completely separately from SNAP. This is key because Summer EBT and SNAP, although they do share a lot of aspects, they're similar in a lot of ways. They are separate programs with different sources of federal funding that need to be tracked separately. So at this point, you might be asking yourself, well, what about PEBT? And yeah, those of you who were around in time of PEBT will recall that we did use AMA and PEBT. However, I note that that approach was taken in the middle of a national emergency with schools closing down all across the country, and we needed to act fast to get those benefits out to those in need. We used AMA at the time because speed was of the essence. However, that approach had some key flaws, namely that benefits were commingled with SNAP and could not be tracked separately. Now, the circumstances are different. Summer EBT is a permanent program, not temporary, and it's not being stood up in the middle of a national emergency, and we are building it to last. Providing benefit funds to states as a grant is an effective and clean way to operate the program, which enables us to track Summer EBT benefits separately from SNAP. Finally, also on this slide, let's talk about working with EBT processors. A lot of states have expressed concerns about sharing their program plans with their EBT processors before the prom is approved or before a contract amendment is approved. We get it. That's a natural instinct, but it's an instinct that will not serve you well in Summer EBT. Excuse me for a second while I wet my whistle because voice gets dry after talking so much. So as I was saying, that instinct is not going to serve you well in Summer EBT. Most schools let out within the span of the same month or two, late May, early June, which means that all states and ITOs across the country need to issue benefits at basically the same time. As such, you and your EBT processor are going to face logistical realities. I'm talking about limits to card production, limits on mailing capacity, et cetera, which could cause a bottleneck. And that would mean that processors cannot meet all state needs unless, and that's the key word, unless they have time to plan. And that's where you come in. If you tell your processor your issuance related plans early, they can start planning their workload. I'm talking about issuance dates, estimated number of kids, whether or not you intend to co-load benefits onto SNAP cards, things like that. Crucial for processors to plan their workload and to make sure that they can implement your plans. Now, we understand, and the processors understand, that information will be tentative, that information is subject to change. In fact, we expect it to change. So again, you do not have to have an approved prom. You do not have to have an approved contract amendment to share information early. And by providing that tentative information early, you improve the chances that everything will run smoothly for you and for other states. Next slide, please. All right, switching away from EBT, we're going to talk about the APD process. That's the Advanced Planning Document Process and Tools. The APD process is a series of successive steps through which SNAP, WIC, and Summer EBT agencies and ITOs obtain prior federal approval of and federal financial participation in any automation projects that support FNS programs. So this generally includes all eligibility systems and EBT projects. Our primary focus in doing oversight of state systems is to ensure the responsible stewardship of federal funds used in FNS programs. Now, some of the steps in the APD process include the preparation, filing, the review, approval, and then the actual use of the APD document and other related documents. Such documents will be essential for you to do your planning, for you to do your management, and for control purposes. The APD process for Summer EBT is outlined in 7 CFR 292, Summer EBT Reg, and it's covered more thoroughly in FNS's Handbook 901, which is it's titled Advanced Planning Documents. The document itself is made up of several documents, such as a budget, a schedule, management plan, things of that nature. And many of these documents are generated by the state agency or the ITO as it proceeds through the activities of planning, implementing, and operating an information system that supports certification, eligibility, or EBT systems. So that's high level. Next slide, please. All right, so let's get a little bit more in the weeds and briefly look at some of the documents you might have to submit at various stages depending on the project. Now, notice that I emphasize the words might, various, and depending. And that's because depending on various factors, such as which agency is in charge, the type of project you're working on, the size of that project, and other things we're going to talk about, you may be doing these documents, you may be doing them on an annual basis, or you may never deal with them at all. So let's talk about the types of documents really quick. PAPD, that's short for Planning Advanced Planning Document. That is a short document which provides a high-level plan, including a timeline and budget, and is just for the planning phase of the project. My friends in SSO may disagree. I tend to think of that as the outline that a teacher used to make you submit before you wrote your report, just the outline of what you're going to do. The IAPD is the Implementation Advanced Planning Document, and that's a much more detailed document that includes a feasibility study or alternative analysis for the project. And I should note that for EBT, that FS/AA, the feasibility study or alternative analysis, is not required, but it is required for certification projects. You are going to need to do annual updates to your PAPD or your IAPD for any project that is longer than a year, and that's calculated from when the PAPD or the IAPD was first approved. You might also find that you have updates that you need to do on an as-needed basis. These are required whenever there are significant changes to the approved PAPD or IAPD. So there you're thinking about a major change in scope or a major change in schedule or a major budget change. So that's when you're having to amend on the fly. So I said the PAPD is kind of like the outline the teacher used to make you submit. Maybe the teacher only made me submit those because I wasn't a good student. And then the IAPD is the actual, fleshed out report, if you will, to draw that metaphor. Next slide, please. All right. So on the previous slide, I said that there are that some of those documents you might have to submit at various stages and that it would depend on the project. So when are they necessary? What are the thresholds? Well, firstly, let me point out that the APD requirements for reviewing certification systems do not apply. So if we're talking about certification systems, that does not apply if CN is the lead coordinating agency. So again, put it another way, if CN is the lead and we're talking about a certification system, then it does not need to go through the APD process. Easy squeezy, you're off the hook for certification systems if CN is the lead. Now, if you're interested in specific thresholds and triggers, you can continue to read the slide as I talk, but I remind you that you are going to have access to this presentation after it is over. For my part, I think it is sufficient to say that for initial and annual updates to PAPDs and IAPDs, there are financial thresholds, and those are going to vary on whether you're talking about a state agency or an ITO. And for as-needed changes, again, it's going to depend on whether you're a state or an ITO, and there are financial thresholds, as well as other triggers such as changing in scope, funding source, or major changes in schedule. So review the slide. If you have any specific questions, you can let us know. You might not be dealing with this anytime soon, so that may be a question that comes later in the future. Next slide, please. Next drink of coffee as well. All right, for PEBT, not for PEBT, strike that from the record. I didn't say PEBT. For EBT, it's much easier. FNS must review all IAPDs for EBT issuance systems, period, full stop, no exceptions. I don't mention PAPDs, which are the outline type document, because those are very rare when we're talking about EBT systems. So if it's an IAPD for an EBT issuance system, we're going to have to review it. It does not matter who the lead agency is. We review all of them. Those IAPDs must be submitted after a new contract is negotiated, but before the new contract period starts and before incurring any costs in that new contract. So in that sweet spot between the negotiation and actual implementation, that's when we have to look at it. Further, if there are as needed changes to existing IAPDs, again, there are going to be financial thresholds for whether we would review. If you want to look at those in specific, I invite you to read the slide at your leisure. I don't want to read those to you. Now, I talked at the beginning about tools, so we're going to go to the next slide now. All right, this is a tool that we're going to use when dealing with procurements. Now, the procurement is a little bit different than your IAPDs and your PEPDs because those are planning and management. Now, procurements is when you're actually contracting related to these projects. This would include requests for proposals, commonly referred to as RFPs, contracts, and contract amendments, regardless of whether they're for certification systems or EBT systems, and regardless of whether you're a state or you're an ITO. So all procurements related to certification systems and EBT systems. And again, you're typically going to be talking about RFPs, contracts, and contract amendments. Now, there's a lot of information on this slide and the next slide, and I'm not going to walk you through every scenario. I pass out from dehydration. I don't think I have enough coffee and too much talking. And honestly, most of it is not going to stick when we're going through it very quickly. Instead, I will first tell you that we are sharing this presentation, or remind you once again that we're sharing this presentation. So you're going to get this chart, and it includes this very useful. It's a very useful tool. Second, I'm going to show you how to use this tool and walk you through one example. And thirdly, I'm going to remind you that our friends in SSO, they stand ready to assist if and when you lose this presentation, you forget what I said, or I didn't say it well, or whether you have additional questions. So this chart deals with competitive procurements. It says so right at the top. The next slide is basically the same kind of tool, but it deals with non-competitive procurements. So you have a tool for competitive procurements and another tool for non-competitive procurements. So how does this work? No, go back to the previous slide, please. Thank you. So how does this work? All right, so we're going to work on this. My buddy Raisa, who's been managing the slides very ably for us, she's been in the background. She's going to help me do this next part. Hopefully it works. We practiced and it worked, but give us a little grace in case we mess it up. All right, on the far left column, you can find the row for the kind of procurement document that you're working on. So you have three choices: RFP, contract, and contract amendment. So just for an example, let's pick one of those and let's say a contract. So the second orange box right in the middle of the chart. Would you please circle that, Raisa? High five, Raisa, baller. We're doing great. This is collaboration. This proves that we're sporks. CN and SNAP working together. All right, so we circled it because we're talking about a contract, right? Along the top row, you have a list of the kind of systems that you're going to be getting the procurement for. You have four choices: certification systems for state agencies, certification systems for ITOs, EBT issuance systems for state agencies, and EBT issuance systems for ITOs. Again, let's go smack dab in the middle of that top row and find the column for the system for the procurement you will are going to get. And again, right in the middle, third column, let's go with Summer EBT state agency issuance system. There you see, Raisa is drawing a lovely circle around that box. And so now we want to find out, how do we treat, how do we deal with review of those kind of documents? Well, we're going to cross the T. Can you please draw a line from the circle on the column to the middle? There you go. And then you draw another line. You're crossing the T, so you find where the row matches up with the column. And we see that for Summer EBT state agency issuance contracts, we're going to have to look at all procurements requesting or utilizing FFP, which is federal financial participation. So you would do the same for any other procurement. You find the document, RFP, contract, or contract amendment on the far left column. Then you find the kind of system you're dealing with across the top, and then you just cross the T. And so Raisa did this. Raisa, I think we did a really good job. Would you please draw us a happy face? That's our happy face because we did it right. All right, high five, Raisa. I feel very proud of us. Next slide, please. We're not going to go through an example. Same basic thing. Look across the top, look down the left, cross the T, smiley face. And again, I remind you that SSO stands ready to assist if when you lose this presentation or you have additional questions. Chances that you're doing one of these this week or this month are slim. So it may be that you just need them to help you out when it's time to. Next slide, please. Just wrapping some stuff up here. Wanted to let you know that when you submit one of these documents, we have 60 days to review state agency summer EBT submissions for approval or to determine whether ITO summer EBT submissions meet the federally required clauses. I speak glowingly of our colleagues in SSO. I can tell you that they are usually much faster than that, but they do technically have 60 days. If and when you approach one of these, you realize you're having to do one of these, I encourage you to reach out to our friends in SSO and they'll help you figure out the specifics. And you'll say, I remember Rogelio talking about that in a presentation some time ago. And now I believe some folks are going to drop some resources for you in the chat, a list of contacts for SSO, a link to the FNS Handbook 901, it's the advanced planning documents, and a link to 7 CFR 292.11 APD processes and 7 CFR 292.28 procurement standards. I direct people to 7 CFR 292 every chance I get because it's just beautifully written regulation, if I do say so myself. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Michelle. Tag, you're it.
Thanks, Rogelio. Okay, so now we're going to go back and it's time to discuss the Plan of Operations and Management, or POM. You know, for 2025, we're very happy to unveil a new and improvised POM process. And we really want to build on our successes from 2024 and update kind of the areas that weren't so great. We have a new POM template now that streamlines and simplifies some questions while removing questions that weren't very helpful or effective in 2024. Where possible, we shifted to checkboxes and tables so that it's easier for you to complete. And new for this year, we have separate versions, one for states and Puerto Rico, for ITOs and territories. We're also condensing the IPOM and the POM into a single template. When you initially submit your plan before the August 15 deadline, it only needs to include elements required for the IPOM, specifically the 366A and the budget narrative, and the number of children you anticipate serving. We will use this information to get you approved for your fiscal year 25 administrative grant. By February 15, you need to submit a plan that contains all the required POM information. That means you can submit the new template with just the IPOM information in August and then resubmit with all the information later or your full POM in August. And we can start working on approving your full POM. There are a few advantages to this change. First, there's only one form this year, so there's less to keep track of. Second, you have more flexibility to complete the form on a timeline that makes sense for you. If you submit a POM by August 15 that covers the IPOM requirements and I'm so sorry, excuse me. This is the troubles from working from home. As I was saying, yeah, there are a few advantages to this change. For there's only one form this year, so there's less to keep track of. And if you submit a POM by August 15 that covers the IPOM requirements and has additional programmatic information, we will process your IPOP submission so you can get your administrative grant. And additionally, we'll also provide that technical assistance or feedback on those program pieces. You know, and we really want to emphasize that starting this dialogue with FNS early, you know, should reduce the time it takes to approve your plans once it's updated with complete information. For example, if you submit a POM on August the 5th that includes your 360A budget and narrative and the estimated number of children you will serve, and then a description, for example, of data sets that you will use for streamlined certification, we will review both the 366A, your budget narrative, for the purpose of providing you administrative funds, and we'll use your estimated number of children to plan for your future, you know, food benefit grant. But we will also provide you good technical assistance and review your description of the data sets that you want to use for streamlined certification, provide TA if necessary. Now, let's say, for example, you're proposing to start using information from a state program that has the same eligibility standards as the NSLP. You know, we can really provide early feedback on this proposal so that your final POM includes information that both we can agree on and, you know, we can approve. I'm also pleased to announce that we have additional resources to assist you with the budget narrative this year. This was a pain point for many of you in 2024. We really want to support you so the process is easier this year. And we've released an optional budget narrative template that aligns with the categories in 366A, so you can more easily communicate how your budget narrative supports that 360A form. We also have a checklist with things to remember as you complete your 366A and your budget narrative. But before we move on from the POM process, I'd like to talk about how the 2025 POM fits with our long-term goals for POMs. You know, FNS's intent is to continue to simplify the POM process in the coming years. You know, right now, Summer EBT agencies are making a lot of changes year to year as you develop your programs, but it won't be like that forever. And we don't want to get to a point where we request the same information each year and you have to submit the same response each year. That's not a good use of anyone's resources. In 2025, while Summer EBT agencies are still considering significant program changes, we are requesting that Summer EBT agencies submit a complete POM that addresses all areas of the template and provides a full picture of the agency's Summer EBT program. After 2025, we anticipate moving towards a POM format that will allow Summer EBT agencies to affirm in most areas and that information, you know, affirm in most areas that information has not changed from the prior year. As we move forward, please continue to share your feedback with FNS so we continue to improve the POM process. And now, as you see on this slide, we're talking now about flexibilities and requirements. We're going to take a look specifically at the differences between 2024 and 2025 for the POM. The law requires that Summer EBT agencies submit a notice of intent to administer the program by January 1st. And this requirement is the same in 2025. For 2024, an interim POM wasn't required by August 15, since that would have been impossible, given that the rule came out in December 29th. So we asked for it as soon as possible. The deadline to submit an IPOM or an interim POM for 2025 is now August 15th, 2024. As noted, this might not be possible for all Summer EBT agencies, so we've included a place in the IPOM and POM template where you can request a waiver for this deadline for 2025. The deadline to complete your POM remains February 15th, 2025. Summer EBT agencies have the option to submit earlier than February, and we really strongly encourage early submission if it's possible. You can even submit a full POM in August in lieu of the IPOM if that's something that states, territories, or ITOs can do. Again, the interim POM and the POM are the same template this year, and states, ITOs, and territories will each have a template with certain areas customized for their specific needs. And now we'll go a little bit into financial management. Next slide, please. In terms of financial management, there are some differences to be aware of. There are flexibilities that were previously available for the first year of implementation that will change for 2025. As shown in, this shown in this slide, and we'll review them line by line. For 2024, FNS made an initial allocation of administrative funds available to states and ICOs that submitted a notice of intent and an affirmative statement. For 2025, approval of a Summer EBT agency's 366A and expenditure plan, i.e. like the budget narrative, is required before FNS will issue administrative funds. To receive the initial allocation in fiscal year 24, Summer EBT agencies were required to submit an affirmative statement indicated that they had non-federal funds to match their federal award. An affirmative statement is not required for 2025. Summer EBT agencies in 2024 entered into an FNS 529 grant award agreement to receive fiscal year 24 administrative funds from FNS. Agencies will also sign an FNS 529 agreement to receive 2025 administrative funds. FNS is developing a permanent federal state agreement, which will set the terms and conditions for receipt of these administrative funds in future years. And for 2024, the interim POM with the 366A and the expenditure plan or budget narrative was due as soon as practicable, but no later than February 15, 2024, POM deadline. For 2025, the interim POM with the 366A and expenditure plan are due on or before August 15, 2024. Approved plans can be revised at any times, and waivers are available for this deadline for the 2025 interim POMs. Next slide. Let's look at reporting. Although this is a presentation about 2025, I'm going to briefly discuss 2024 reporting since that guidance was recently released and we want to make sure everyone's aware of it. In 2024, we're issuing Summer EBT specific versions of the existing FNS 388, FNS 46, and the SF 425 for Summer EBT benefit issuance and participation reporting in states and territories. Agencies that administer SNAP already use these forms to report on SNAP implementation. However, Summer EBT agencies must submit each of these forms for Summer EBT separate from any reporting for SNAP or any other program. This approach ensures that Summer EBT program and financial data are not commingled with program data and that the data can be analyzed and reported separately from any other FNS program. ITO Summer EBT agencies will use the SF 425 SEBT to report their Summer EBT benefits and the FNS 388 Summer EBT to report the monthly and annual number of children issued Summer EBT benefits during the fiscal year. FNS issued guidance in June on how to complete these forms for Summer EBT. The memo is cited on the slide and we'll also drop a link in the chat. For fiscal year 24, Summer EBT Administrative Funding Grant, all Summer EBT agencies will use the FNS 366A to project their administrative budgets and the FNS 778 to provide quarterly financial status data on their Summer EBT Administrative Funds Grant. The reporting process and data collected in fiscal year 24 will help inform future iterations of Summer EBT reporting. Next slide. Before you go, let's look at resources to help with 2025 implementation. As mentioned earlier, Summer EBT funding, set funding, will be available to support technology projects. We're continuing to update the implementation toolkit that we launched last year. Recent additions to the toolkit include updated POM template with a budget template and checklist. There are also profiles of the states and ITOs that are operating the program this year. And we're finalizing, as I mentioned before, another round of Q&As, which will be posted as soon as possible. Our outreach toolkit continues to grow as well, with more templates and tools to help you communicate with families, partners, and more. And we're also launching a Summer EBT partner website so we can communicate with Summer EBT agencies about news and updates. Please stay tuned for more information about Partner Web. And in the coming months, we're planning to launch a series of interactive town hall meetings, and these will be led at the program level and are intended for you, the program managers. FNS will provide updates and respond to questions live, and Summer EBT agencies can suggest their own topics or pose questions to their peers. Our intent with these town hall meetings is to keep an open line of communication between FNS and Summer EBT agencies. This is a model that FNS uses in child nutrition programs, and we find that it supports greater communication, provides a forum to address issues in real time. For now, we plan to meet monthly, but we can adjust the cadence based on need, and an invite will be coming soon. Lastly, Share Our Strength and the American Public Human Services Association are also facilitating a community of practice for Summer EBT. If you're not already connected with them, check out the link in the chat for more information on that as well. Next slide. The last topic I have for you before we transition to Q&A is tips for success in 2025. First, talk to your regional office. I know you've been hearing this constantly throughout this presentation. Early, if you anticipate any challenges, we may be able to help or suggest alternative approaches for you to get a yes, or connect you with other agencies that have had similar challenges, and looping us in allows us to identify trends and determine if an issue needs to be addressed at the national level. Second, submit your POM early. We got 46 POMs within a span of 3 days this year. And although we worked through them as quickly as possible, reviewing that many POMs was a significant effort. The process ate up valuable implementation time for many Summer EBT agencies. So this year, we really plan to review IPOMs and POMs as we receive them, with the goal of moving quickly to approval. That means you can have your POM approved as early as this fall if you get it in early. Third, include FNS in development of your POM if you're changing your process from last year or you're new to the program in 2025. We're more than happy to walk through your ideas, review language before you get internal sign-off, and before you even submit your actual POM. In 2024, we found that getting on the phone with the Summer EBT agency, or like trading language by email, really helps speed the process and get states and ITOs to approve faster. Finally, let us know how we can help. The resources on our website, these webinars, the town halls, they're really all for you. So let us know if we're hitting the mark, or if there are areas where we could do better or more resources are needed. Next slide. At this time, we're happy to answer your questions. I'll pass it along to Whitney Peters from our team and our other Summer EBT members, alongside with colleagues from Financial Management and the State System Office, to answer your questions.